So now, all of you are going to take out the paper that you were instructed to bring, and you dutifully did, because you're all good students, of an example of your own advocacy writing or your organization's. And this is where, for the folks who are watching at home, you are going to do the same. And we're going to pause for a moment after I give the instructions. So everybody have their paper. If you don't, we have extra papers, I think. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to read your paper from the bottom up. By that I mean last sentence, penultimate sentence, anti-penultimate sentence, etc. This is an old editing trick many of you probably know, because if you read from the top down, you just get swept into the content of what you're saying, and it's hard to find structure. And you are going to find yourself using these inagentive constructions at least 3 times. Now, your paper's kind of short. We'll have a little conversation. By which I mean, ask your sentences, is it clear that a person did a thing? Does the thing described here have an agent? If you're having trouble, I'm going to come around to help you, but a place to get started, if you're having trouble, is to just underline your verbs, which are your action words, and then ask yourself about each verb, who is carrying out the verb? And if you can't figure one out, like homes were lost, that means that that's an example of what I'm talking about. So I'm going to give you guys a few minutes to find yourself making this error, because so confident am I that all of you are that I'm telling you, you will find it.
Yes.
Okay, so now we are going to share with the class. Si no hay voluntarios, hay víctimas. Who is going to go first? And read us your inagentive sentence. Thank you.
So I have this sheet that is mostly image-based, but it has one quote at the bottom that reads, "The world is warming and it is foolish to pretend that it's not," which basically implicates the world as the doer.
That's true. The world is the agent. The world is warming.
Yeah.
Okay, great. You had one too?
Yeah. As the number of jobs offering pensions dwindles away and income and wealth inequality persists, Social Security has become a critical piece of the puzzle many adults rely on in order to plan for retirement and advanced age.
Wow, that's amazing. That's like a nested set of inagentive constructions. That's like a whole Russian doll.
Nailed it.
Yeah, well done. It doesn't quite make my Hall of Shame. I have like a list of sentences that I have people email me after trainings. But it's close. It's like on the cusp. Somebody else want to share? Because I'm so nice. The incentive is big. Yes.
Well, this is one where just the
Look how much braver women are than men.
the agent is just a little bit unclear.
Okay.
The tragedy that unfolded here is a stark reminder that we have to do more to prevent gun violence.
Yeah, no, that's a pretty classic example. The tragedy that unfolded. Yes. Okay. Yeah.
I was going to provide another example.
That's right. Take one for your side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll speak on behalf.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you. Speak for men now.
Yeah, I will.
Okay.
Decisions are driven by greed, not by what's right for communities, health, or the environment.
Wow, decisions. Those damn decisions. Driving themselves. Yeah. Like I like to tell my labor friends, it's a bird, it's a plane, it's falling wages. Okay, so now that was relatively easy. Now here is the hard part, part 2 of the exercise. Now you're going to fix your sentence. You are going to force your sentence to conform to the very simple rule that I like to call people do things. Now sometimes this is easier than other times when we have a specific culprit, like when I said Jamie Dimon took your house. But most of the time we don't have an obvious culprit, and so we need to use a category, right? CEOs decided, politicians chose, leaders determined, leaders took, right? Corporations stole. So it's fine if it's not like Bob it can be sort of a category of person. It doesn't need to be necessarily an individual. And for those of you who are like, but there isn't, if you're really struggling with it, call me over. There are, I will admit, some sentences that cannot conform to this, but it's probably 10%. So now you're going to fix your sentence. All right, so now we're going to have more sharing. Now, volunteer is going to read me their old sentence, original sentence, and new sentence. But don't all volunteer at once. Yes. Old sentence.
Today, our colleges and universities are strong, but funding cuts and rising tuition costs have made it harder for current students to graduate.
Okay.
That's the old.
Should I repeat that?
Sure.
Yeah. Can I remember it? Today, our universities are strong, but funding cuts have done crappy things.
Exactly. The new one is today our colleges and universities are strong, but lawmakers cutting funding for higher education is making it harder for students to graduate.
Right. So your version is great. Today our colleges and universities are strong, but lawmakers cutting funding, or I would even go farther and say, but lawmakers' choice to send students into debt, or lawmakers' choice to make graduation impossible, that's where I would go. Eyebrows.
So
Huh?
Repeat the two sentences again.
Which one? The
Your
original?
Your edit and his.
So his fixed sentence, and then how I would further fix it. Read your fixed sentence, please.
today our colleges and universities are strong, but lawmakers cutting funding for higher education is making it harder for students to graduate.
Okay, so today our colleges and universities are strong, but lawmakers cutting funding for higher education is making it harder for students to graduate. And what I was saying is I would push even farther and say, today our colleges and universities are strong, but lawmakers are choosing to make graduation harder for our students by denying them the funding they need. Yeah, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because then it makes it volitional. Like, they don't need to do it. They don't need to deny the funding. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Whereas if it's, because they're cutting it, then the argument becomes, well, they have to cut it, they have no choice. When instead it's like, no, you're just denying students the ability to graduate. Why are you doing that? That's a dumb thing to do.
Can I ask a follow-up?
Yes.
How would you think about balancing that urgency with not wanting to poke too many of them in the eye, given that we need to bring them on board?
That's a great question, and that is basically all I'm going to talk about momentarily.
Great.
So, can I come back to that question? Okay. Somebody else want to read old sentence, new sentence? Yes.
Rather than eliminate DACA protections, our country should provide a permanent path to citizen for dreamers, fully embracing their courage, contributions, potential, and legitimacy.
Wow. Okay. So rather than, I'm trying to repeat it for the camera, but my memory is
Eliminate
obviously
DACA
awesome.
protections.
Rather than eliminate DACA protections, our country should provide pathway something something.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, so we said, by eliminating DACA, President Trump fails to acknowledge the humanity, home, and American life built of nearly 1 million people. The president should provide citizenship for dreamers.
That's great. That's very good. And did it get shorter?
Yeah.
So one lovely benefit of this exercise is that it almost always makes your sentences shorter, which is always a good idea. Okay. Do you want to share yours, or are we good?
I can.
Okay. So old sentence.
Yeah, old sentence. Each year we lose gifted young people to the vicious cycle of poverty, violence, underfunded schools, and inadequate health care that forces them off the ladder of success and into the juvenile justice system.
That's one sentence.
And so the main change that we made was to change it to policymakers choose. So policymakers choose to confine young people to the vicious cycle of poverty, and then the rest is the same.
Yeah. Yep.